Pro football today on SportsGrid is live. Joe Lisi and Kevin Walsh with you, and every single Sunday of this NFL season for what should be, Joe, an excellent week number one on a Sunday. We've already had a couple of games in division, Eagles-Cowboys, Chargers-Chiefs. We'll talk about those and everything still on deck.
Yeah, the dogs were barking on Thursday and Friday night. Unbelievable. We'll see if they can bark today. 32 teams set out to potentially win a Super Bowl championship. Only one can win it, and we saw that on display
hold on. I just got an update.
Last Thursday night.
Browns already eliminated. Down to 31. We're down to 31. Go ahead.
No, I think, we'll see what teams bring in week number one. Last year, let's not forget, Patriots knock off Joe Burrow as a 7.5-point underdog. Could they potentially step up today against the Las Vegas Raiders? Rain in the forecast here on the East Coast. How does that affect totals? How does that affect the outcomes of the 1 o'clock games? We'll find out.
Rumor has it you're our weatherman this year, so I hope
Is that true?
That's what I'm hearing. Joe is right. Cincinnati has a lot on the line here in week number one. One of the big storylines, as well as a Sunday night showdown between the last two league MVPs, Josh Allen at home against Lamar Jackson. We have Aaron Rodgers returning to the scene of the crime in MetLife against the New York Jets. Micah Parsons makes his debut, Joe, for the Green Bay Packers against the Detroit Lions as well.
And it all affected the conference and Super Bowl odds, right? It affected the Dallas Cowboys as well, affected that money line and spread on Thursday night. We saw the Dallas Cowboys balloon to an 8.5-point underdog because Micah Parsons wasn't in that lineup. What does he bring? He has the back issue. He's going to play limited amounts of plays, most likely on passing situations. This is a team in Green Bay, lost both meetings to Detroit last year, right, and got abused the last time in Lambeau Field. Can he elevate this defense to potentially challenge the likes of Philadelphia? We'll see. I'm still not sold on Green Bay being an elite team.
What happened?
Oh, what happened?
Trendy. Well, too trendy.
Oh, that and the fact that they got kicked in the chops in Lincoln Financial. That was a terrible effort. And in order for Green Bay, it's not just Micah Parsons. I need to see that offense with Jordan Love look like it did a couple of years ago when they knocked off the Dallas Cowboys. Can't be Josh Jacobs 80% of the offense.
Well, you know what? As somebody who might have some Jacobs props in, I disagree. Though I know where you're coming from, I'll say this, and we're going to get into that game quite a lot. I understand why the Packers are dominating the conversation. I feel like it's covering up a lot of those concerns around Detroit. New OC, new DC. We've seen guys leave in free agency or retire on the offensive line. I don't know if I like that at midnight they're paying people or not paying people. Jamison Williams gets paid. Aiden Hutchinson does not end up with a contract. I don't know. I don't know. We'll get to that game. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's a divisional matchup. We did start this season with two incredibly important divisional matchups, though, because the two teams who played in last year's Super Bowl have already started their season. That would be the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs. Here's the thing, though. 1-0 Philadelphia, 0-1 Kansas City, and next week, you already know what the biggest game on the slate is. The Super Bowl rematch, Joe, where the Eagles won't now just be looking to win another game. They'll be looking to push Kansas City down to 0-2. My question to you as we just take a look back towards these past couple of days of NFL action, what was more surprising? Philadelphia not being able to run away and blow out Dallas, or Kansas City being upset by the Chargers?
Kansas City being upset by the Chargers. Because, again, the glaring weaknesses that we saw, the potential offensive line and the defensive front got worn down. And that was the biggest thing that when you look big picture, especially in that Week 2 matchup, that's a measuring stick. And I put it out. I said Philadelphia has the opportunity next week to put the kill shot into Kansas City. Not the fact that maybe Kansas City is 0-2. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the psychological dominance that they have had over the course of the last 5 or 6 seasons where they could go out and just dominate teams or win games because of the Chiefs. The measuring stick is the Philadelphia Eagles now, a team that beat them sound, right, in the Super Bowl. Handily, offense and defensive lines were superior against the Kansas City Chiefs. They go out in Arrowhead and win this game by double digits. I don't think the Chiefs will recover. Psychologically, they might only be an 8 or a 9-win football team. And again, they're going to struggle now as a favorite against some of the mediocre teams in the AFC.
Well, here's the reality for the Kansas City Chiefs. They got some bad news that they probably knew was coming. This morning, Ian Rappaport of NFL Network reported that Xavier Worthy did suffer a dislocated shoulder. It happened on one of the very first plays of the Kansas City season on the offensive side of the football. And that report suggests that they're going to continue to undergo tests, figure out the plan of attack here. We're going to talk to the Pro Football Doc, Dr. David Chow, of course, a little bit later on in this show and get his, outlook for this situation. But if he has surgery, Xavier Worthy may not be playing another regular season game. Compound that with the Rashee Rice suspension, and all of a sudden the Chiefs are in the market maybe for a wide receiver. I know Hollywood Brown had a good game. I know Kelsey found the end zone, but it's a Chiefs team, Joe, that if Amari and Hampton didn't go out of bounds, right, at the very end of the first half, would have been stuck on 3 to go into the half of that game. There are some real questions there. We also will talk to NFL insider Adam Kaplan a little bit later on, get his thoughts on everything happening around the NFL, including what he's hearing out of Philadelphia around Jalen Carter, one of the NFL's premier defensive linemen, seen as the best defensive player on last year's #1 defense in Philadelphia, didn't play a snap against the Dallas Cowboys. He spit on Dak Prescott. We get different angles of it. Did Dak spit first? There's all this going on here. I haven't been able to talk to you about that, Joe. What did you make of everything that happened with Philly on the defensive side of the ball in that game, from Jalen Carter being kicked out to allowing the Dallas offense to look good for a significant portion of the game?
Yeah, I don't put a lot of weight into it. As a Philly fan, you want to be slightly concerned, but you see Jalen Carter be immature in that situation, right? If Dak Prescott spits first, you don't initiate or retaliate in any capacity. Again, should he be suspended 6 games? No. Throw him in jail and for life. It is the game of football. This has happened throughout the years. It's just not magnified as much with technology and cameras everywhere, right? Back in the day, this was common practice for the Eagles with Andre Waters and Buddy Ryan. I have no problem with it. It's football. It's an eye for an eye. But big picture, does the defense look as dominant as it did at the end of the regular season last year? No, but it's a week 1 matchup. It's a divisional opponent. It was a new wrinkle with Dak Prescott and obviously C.D. Lamb abusing Quinyon Mitchell in that defense. More importantly, Adoree Jackson got abused in that matchup. I am not concerned. I think the Eagles clearly, to me, and I've told you this, are the only team I would bet from the Super Bowl perspective, because I think they're only going to go down. The odds are only going to go shorter. I believe in Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley. I believe in that defense. I think they'll find their way in the middle of the regular season. I think they're going to be just fine.
Well, for Jalen Hurts, pretty good start if you're looking to make an MVP case. For Justin Herbert, a great start if you're looking to make an MVP case. The reality, though, for either one of those quarterbacks is there are still 2 guys at the top that you need to go through in order to bring home that award, in Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. But the big thing is one of those guys is going to drop down a little bit after tonight's game. The other, though, is going to have a rocket ship attached to their price if they get a win here on Sunday Night Football. We will break that game down next, and we will talk about all of the moving numbers on this Sunday. Who's in, who's out. Looks like Christian McCaffrey is in. How about an important player like Christian Gonzalez for New England? Out. We will follow it all here this morning on SportsGrid. It is Pro Football Today.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play, and players win.
Donnie, the season is 6 months, 5 if you check out in September. You're going to have a bad month. The Yankees had a horrible month. That is true. But beyond that, their regular season looks okay. They're going to win their 90 games or maybe a little bit more and get to the postseason. What is everybody freaking out about?
Everybody freaks out. It's a Yankee tax and a Yankee fan tax as well, where every single season you enter into the equation going like, it's championship or bust.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Remember these names: AZ Fudd, Olivia Miles, Lauren Betts. Depending on who wins that lottery, that's going to depend on who goes one. If Washington wins, it's Fudd. She's from the area. If Dallas wins, they're going to bring Fudd to play with, obviously, Paige. If Minnesota wins, I think they go Miles with the point. If Seattle wins, they go with Miles, and the same thing with Chicago.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
I was looking at through my phone at first. I'm like, why is there such a delay? And why are we getting pitch hitters right away? Oh, the pitcher got thrown out for some reason. Maybe he hurt himself. But no, turning out and seeing a brawl was absolutely hilarious to let that one play out. Just the way it is sometimes in baseball. We don't get a lot of good fights and a lot of good brawls and anger, specifically from two teams that aren't going to the playoffs. So good on them for showing that moxie last time. But it's good to see a little bit of a brawl and a little bit of that passion here.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip? Try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
What an incredible job by the NFL. Starting Sunday Night Football, starting week number 1 with a matchup between the Baltimore Ravens and the Buffalo Bills, where we have a real budding rivalry, in my opinion. I know for both of these teams, especially Buffalo, their eye is always on Kansas City. But the fact of the matter is, you have two quarterbacks in Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson who will be competing for trophies, competing for a Super Bowl, and competing for league MVP. And last year, they seemingly were in a dead heat for league MVP. It went to Josh Allen. Lamar Jackson was asked about that about a week ago. Here's what he had to say.
I don't know if we ever asked you, were you disappointed at all that he didn't win the MVP?
I mean, the voters chose who they wanted to pick. You know, it is what it is.
I got to tell you, Joe, that little clip there, it's quick. People might say, that's nothing. The phrase, they chose who they wanted to, with a little smile from Lamar Jackson, probably tells me in his heart of hearts he believes he should have 3 MVPs sitting at home. But I think both Lamar and Josh would tell you, take the MVPs and just get me to the Super Bowl. It is so, you cannot overstate for these two quarterbacks who feel like they have consistently knocked on this door, knowing that it's a guarantee one of them won't make the Super Bowl. We may end up in a situation where neither does again. And now you have a spot where one of them will start 0-1 at the hand of the other.
Yeah, it's a rematch of the playoff loss, right? Yep. Or the playoff win, depending upon who you had, Buffalo and Baltimore. I think when you look at this matchup, they're going to have to erase this in the postseason, right? And nothing that they do tonight is going to elevate them to the likes of Pat Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. But they'll be close, and they'll be on their way potentially to an MVP award, you know, But I would push back on Lamar with that statement and say 2 years ago, he basically got the award because they were the number 1 seed in the AFC. His numbers weren't dynamic the way they were last year, and they gave him the award, right? So it's a give and take. It's at times it's, you know, a media award that people perceive who is the most, you know, I want to say glorified quarterback or player in in the league. And it comes down to he's dynamic, and we know Lamar can play, but the questions remain in the postseason. Same thing for Josh. If they go up against Pat Mahomes today in a playoff situation, home or away, neither one of these quarterbacks have gotten it done against the Kansas City Chiefs. I would push back and say I have more confidence in Joe Burrow in a playoff situation than I do Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson against the Chiefs.
Well, Burrow has at least been able to get it done against Kansas City, and that's one of the things that has continued to lift up Burrow in those conversations, despite missing the playoffs for 2 straight seasons. For Buffalo and Baltimore, the incredible thing is, I would say they are by far the 2 most popular Super Bowl picks. They are Super Bowl favorites, and in some spots standalone, depending on where you are looking. Any case that is made, at some point you will hear, and I don't think it's wrong, if someone's on the Ravens, Lamar is going to win a Super Bowl, or Josh Allen is going to win a Super Bowl. That is the belief for backers. The incredible thing, though, for me, when we enter into this game here, Joe, these 2 are not in the same situation, because it is Lamar Jackson's Baltimore Ravens who go to Buffalo, where Josh Allen has not lost a home regular season game since November 2023. We were actually here together watching the game. It was against Russell Wilson's Denver Broncos. Neither here nor there. The Baltimore Ravens are favored in this game. I don't care. Oh, come on. It's only a point and a half. Could have been a point and a half the other way. The Ravens are favored in Buffalo.
Okay.
I hear up and down, the Ravens have the best roster in the league, regardless of what Philadelphia, defending Super Bowl champs, bring to the table. So while both of these guys have a lot on the line for the full season, I think the Ravens have way more pressure on them to get the job done in week number 1 than the Buffalo Bills.
Absolutely. Again, and that's why you're seeing them favored, I believe, -1.5. And with the Super Bowl price, people believe the rematch factor is real. And let's not forget, when Jalen Hurts and the Eagles played the Chiefs, right, after losing the Super Bowl, they beat them in the regular season, didn't they? Mm-hmm. They stepped up and they won that game in Arrowhead. So that revenge factor steps up and is evident tonight. I just believe that the Bills at home are the superior team in this matchup. I think they're more complete. I have more confidence in Josh Allen, James Cook, and that team than I do Baltimore.
Does this remind you a little bit of, I know it's college football, but Texas, Ohio State?
To a degree. The disrespect at home and the question marks. The Ravens technically and do have the better defense, so that travels. And Derrick Henry and the rushing attack is more dominant, you can say, than Buffalo, Allen, and Cook. I get that. It's Josh Allen.
Yeah.
They win at home. They're dominant at home, and it's people buying in my belief that they're just buying into the revenge. Oh, they're going to find a way to get it done because they lost. Because Andrews dropped the critical, pass and 2-point conversion, they'll find a way to get it done. I just can't do that.
For me, as someone who was actually on, I know you were on Ohio State, as someone who was on Texas, right? The thought process was, I get there on the road, they're better. Texas is better.
Correct.
Right? And that may end up not being true at all, but I think for a lot of people, the Ravens are better. That is really, I think some of the Buffalo pricing is respect for Josh Allen, but a lot of it's tied to the weak AFC East. There's one book I saw, Joe, the Bills, -330 to win a division. -330. To give people an idea, the Ravens are the second biggest divisional favorite at -155. So I think some of it is, we know the Bills will be in the playoff. We know they're going to have a home playoff game, right? Where the thought process on the Ravens is they're actually in their own tier, even in a tier above that of Philadelphia, right? I think that's how the books are viewed. I think that's how the perception around this team is. And that's what I was starting to believe throughout the offseason. We get closer to this game, I do find this line to be a little bit disrespectful. I lean Buffalo, and I'm just sitting there wondering as we get closer, can we push this up? I mean, can I get greedy? Can we get a 2.5?
Come on.
Come on. Can we get a 2.5?
Can
we get a 2.5?
Come on.
Last year's game ended at 2.
Line.
It ended at 2 last year's game. We'll keep breaking it down after a quick break. We're on SportsGrid. It is Pro Football Today with Kevin Walsh and Joe Lisi.
Want to play roulette? Here's a tip. European roulette has a lower house edge than American style. The lower the house edge, the better shot you have at winning. Most online casinos offer European roulette. So, if I were you, I'd get spinning. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Like it or not, 18-year-olds dropped with a whole heck of a lot of money in there. Boy, I tell you, it changes people, Donnie, and it's a new reality that we better get used to in college football, because look at the kid from UCLA, former Tennessee quarterback, making millions of dollars. You really think he cares? They got absolutely embarrassed and trounced.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The Dallas Cowboys losing that pass rush, losing another big impact player on the defensive side, all this does is make me like Dak Prescott more and CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens more, because what we talked about all offseason, right, Matt, which is, hey, when Dak is healthy, he is a top 5 fantasy quarterback, and the defense we think is okay, but we think they're going to be in a lot of shootouts. Now I definitely think there's going to be a lot more shootouts.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
So game one, I already made a mistake. I put my touchdown prop bets in hours ago. When you and I started talking before kickoff, I got so excited and I bet him again without even thinking that I already did it.
I
was like, Jalen Hurts. I was like, and then I was like, wait, I think I already did this. And I scrolled down. I was like, yeah, you already did do this. And I was like, that's okay. That's okay.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Right here on Pro Football Today, we key in on the biggest game on this slate, which is late night, but we'll be up for it the whole way. The Bills and the Ravens in Buffalo. The props tonight, Joe, folks will be all over looking to back again the last two MVPs. In the props market, are you interested in backing either Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson? And if so, how? Not at all.
I would. The only one I would take would be Josh Allen, 2+ touchdowns. It's -114. That would be the one I would take.
So before we then get to some of the guys you are backing, Lamar Jackson, for a lot of his career, the 1.5 passing touchdowns was often plus prices. And the thought was, he's going to probably run one in, right? Lamar Jackson, is well over 2-1 for a rushing touchdown, as he should be. Lamar does not run in touchdown. This isn't Louisville. That is not happening as frequently as it has. The passing touchdown numbers, you're starting to see -125, -130. The books are, he threw 40 touchdowns last year.
Correct.
So you are seeing a big shift in that way around Lamar props.
I will say this, and I'm going to keep an eye on it. I shouldn't say that. I am going to bet them maybe from an in-game. The only one I would take pre-kick would be Josh Allen -114, because I believe the Bills are the superior team. They're going to win this game outright, even as a 1.5-point underdog. But Lamar Jackson's rushing total, to your point, to me, in this game, 46.5 is high. But this is a game he wants to take over. So if revenge is the real reason, and he wants to showcase, I'm the MVP, I was deserving. If this game is on the line, he should blow through this total. I honestly believe that. If we get it anywhere in the 30s from an in-game perspective, I'm going to be all over that number.
Okay. Yeah, I am. Listen, the funny thing of it all is the Lamar plus 220 rushing touchdown price is now a lot better than what we usually, I feel, get. So that's a little interesting to me. A guy that I'm really interested, though, in is Mark Andrews. And you'll probably laugh at me because you'll think it'll be all narrative. It's not all narrative. A lot of it's Isaiah Likely's out for this football game. And you will see this throughout this year, I love the opportunity to bet into an injury where it does not seem as if, the books have massively shifted something. And that's the case with this Mark Andrews prop. 44.5 is our number. Last year, Isaiah Likely only missed one game. And yes, it was against the Cincinnati Bengals. But Mark Andrews had 6 receptions on 7 targets for 68 yards and a touchdown. That was the first time all season Mark Andrews had actually had 7 receptions in a game. And Andrews then was, kind of scoring nearly every single week from that point on. Do I think the revenge factor helps a little bit? I do. I do. I think Mark Andrews, who's been, in this, organization as long as Lamar Jackson, I think these guys are, they're going to want to help one another in this spot. I think 44.5 is really light, but Isaiah Likely being out and this not being in the mid-50s, I think is a real discount here. One of my favorite numbers in this game. What about you?
Well, for the Baltimore side, I'm taking Rashad Bateman. And I believe he'll be the home run hitter. I understand Zay Flowers and, to your point, Mark Andrews are there. But 36.5 for Rashad Bateman, to me, is light in this matchup. Mm-hmm. Again, if Baltimore is going to win with the passing attack and Lamar Jackson, I believe Bateman has to eat. Now, he doesn't have to get to 80 or 90. We were talking 40, 50 yards. I think is very doable in this offense, especially if you're Buffalo and you want to take away the number one option without Likely now, right? It's got to be double teams on Zay Flowers, and we'll blanket coverage Mark Andrews. I believe Bateman could be the X factor. He could have a big day today. 36.5 for me is light. If we're looking Buffalo, I like Keon. I know we're going to go with like these under-the-radar guys, but when is Keon Coleman going to step up? You draft a guy, he has to be involved in the offense. I love James Cook on the ground today. 54.5 is his number, but I like Keon Coleman. 36.5 is a very light number, and I'm going to go back to the tight end. I know Dawson Knox has been that security blanket. Even at the end of last year, he was more consistent than Dalton Kincaid, but could we kick this guy up a notch? He can get open. 31.5 to me is very doable. They have to utilize Dalton Kincaid and Keon Coleman. They don't start to utilize them, get rid of them because they're dead weight in the offense.
I agree with the James Cook. Not that I dislike the Keon Coleman look, but James Cook, who was paid this offseason by Buffalo, last year had a great postseason run, and to some degree, the Bills' season ended with we probably should have given it to James Cook a little bit more.
He wasn't even on the final
in the game
drive
against Kansas City.
How is that possible?
That's where I think you could see an uptick in workload for James Cook. Certainly, these are the kind of things we'll be keeping our eye on throughout this season. We will also, of course, be keeping our eye on Green Bay and Detroit. Micah Parsons makes his debut for the Green Bay Packers against a team that they could not beat last year. And it wasn't just Detroit. The best teams in football owned the Green Bay Packers. Does that change now with the arrival of Micah Parsons? We try and find out the answer after a quick break right here on SportsGrid.
Want to play roulette? Here's a tip. European roulette has a lower house edge than American style. The lower the house edge, the better shot you have at winning. Most online casinos offer European roulette. So, if I were you, I'd get spinning. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Like it or not, 18-year-olds dropped with a whole heck of a lot of money in there. Boy, I tell you, it changes people, Donnie, and it's a new reality that we better get used to in college football because look at the kid from UCLA, former Tennessee quarterback, making millions of dollars. You really think he cares? They got absolutely embarrassed and trounced.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The Dallas Cowboys losing that pass rush, losing another big impact player on the defensive side, all this does is make me like Dak Prescott more and CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens more because what we talked about all offseason, right, Matt, which is, hey, when Dak is healthy, he is a top 5 fantasy quarterback, and the defense we think is okay, but we think they're going to be in a lot of shootouts. Now I definitely think there's going to be a lot more shootouts.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
So game one, I already made a mistake. I put my touchdown prop bets in hours ago. When you and I started talking before kickoff, I got so excited and I bet him again without even thinking that I already did it.
I
was like, Jalen Hurts. I was like, and then I was like, wait, I think I already did this. And I scrolled down. I was like, yeah, you already did do this. And I was like, that's okay. That's okay.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
With you right here on SportsGrid. Kevin Walsh, of course, I'm joined by Joe Lisi as we get set to break down an NFC North battle that was always going to be big time, but is even bigger with the arrival of the Defensive Player of the Year favorite in Micah Parsons, who is clearly expecting to have a monster impact for this Green Bay defense. Here's what Parsons had to say.
And so that should mean something. So I'm going to make them a lot of money. That ball's going to come out a whole lot quicker. But that's what it's about, though. It's about feeding off each other, making plays off each other. It's just a team game. You know what I mean? They hold the coverage, 3rd and 5. They play tight coverage. I get a coverage set. There might be a time where they might get cooked, but the ball's going to come out early because I made up for it. That's what it's about. And that's what they should be excited about. You know, I think it's exciting about making plays for each other and, putting each other in position so we can win football games.
Micah Parsons, and look, I don't think he's wrong, clearly feels he is going to be a difference maker for the Green Bay defense, where, hey, that ball's going to come out quicker, and my quarterbacks are going to look a lot better thanks to me just being there. Do you agree with Micah about the impact he will have, Joe, for this Green Bay football team?
I think he'll elevate them.
Okay.
Do I believe he's going to have like a Myles Garrett type of effect where he's going to put up 18 and a half sacks? And no, I think he'll be in the area where he's been, 12 and a half. But he'll benefit Rashawn Gary because now he'll get the double teams, and that could potentially open up Rashawn Gary to get more and be a factor. I think this defense obviously needed him.
Yeah.
It was a perfect fit, I think, for the Green Bay Packers. I think they now can contend for potentially an NFC North title with the Detroit Lions. But expecting them to have a defense to challenge, and I keep going back to go toe-to-toe with Philadelphia, he's not that big of an impact player, in my opinion. They're going to need a lot more than Micah Parsons to challenge the Eagles to win a Super Bowl or an NFC championship.
I am not in on Green Bay like you to the Super Bowl.
But it has to be, right?
100%. But I was somebody who wasn't in. So there were some who were considering Green Bay to win a Super Bowl pre-Parsons trade. And most people, Joe, had them comfortably in the playoffs pre-Parsons trade. I checked neither box. I'm lower on Green Bay's two key guys that everybody loves, and Jordan Love and Matt LaFleur. Jordan Love has some interception issues, especially in key moments. I think he just got picked off again in the link. Can we check? I think, did he? Did he just throw another one? Because that's how their season keeps ending. And LaFleur, I understand, had an upset on the road in Dallas as a 7 seed. He also kept getting upset at home as the 1 seed with MVP Aaron Rodgers. Why is that all Aaron Rodgers' fault? What's the math on that? Last year, they weren't like 14.5-point underdogs against the Philadelphia Eagles. No. They scored 10 points. He's an offensive guy.
Right.
So I have questions around Green Bay that Parsons helps a lot, but I still have too many to get to a Super Bowl side of it. But I got to tell you, Joe, I probably have even more questions on the Detroit side of this game. And I am betting the Green Bay Packers. I'm laying 1.5 point, which you can get out there right now. The number's bouncing around between 1.5 and 2.5. I am laying 1.5 here on Green Bay. The Detroit Lions turnover, year over year. It was something that I think we talked about a lot when it happened, a lot over the offseason. I feel like not a lot heading into this game. They lost multiple starters on that offensive line. They've always had an incredible offensive line. You check offensive line rankings year over year. Philly, Detroit. That's not the case anymore. They're outside of the top 10 in a lot of these offensive line rankings we see. And Ben Johnson is gone now in division with the Chicago Bears. And Aaron Glenn is now with the New York Jets. While I think the defensive side of the ball for the Lions will be better, I still have enough questions to lay 1.5 at home with the Green Bay Packers.
I would lay it with Green Bay. It's not a game I'm going to be bet or a best bet for me, but I would still lay it with Green Bay because I do want to see how they look from an offensive perspective, to your point.
Yep.
I do believe the defense is a little bit better. Again, it wouldn't shock me, though, if the Lions pull this game out. And I'll just say this. You're right about the OC and the DC. I brought this up about the Philadelphia Eagles right after they went to the Super Bowl, right? They raced out to a 10-1 overall record and then 1-5 in the final 6 games of the regular season, get smacked around by Tampa Bay. So is the inconsistency potentially for Detroit coming in the early part of the year or maybe down the final stretch run? I think it's definitely an alarming factor of why I'm not all in on Detroit. I do feel they could regress to potentially a 10-win football team, and that's a regression going from a 14-win football team that was number 1 seed in the conference to now 10 wins because they're in a tougher division. Teams got better. Green Bay got better. We think Chicago will be better with Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams in year number 2. But again, you know, they do have better offensive weapons than Green Bay. I mean, Golden is going to potentially step up. Tucker Kraft, okay, good. I still think Laporte is better. I think Jamison Williams, St. Brown are much better than what you have on Green Bay's side.
Who's a better quarterback?
Jared Goff. And I'll say this. I'll tell you this why. I'll tell you.
You have changed on Jordan Love.
I will tell you why. Last year, I was all in on Jordan Love, and I chalked it up to the injuries that he dealt with. The injury in week number 1 against the Eagles, right? The ankle, then we went to the groin, then we had some other, you know, I believe at one point he was banged up with a rib injury, and you push that aside, right? Then you get to a playoff situation against the Eagles, an elite defense. And I saw that offensive philosophy completely change from the team that beat up Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys that had Aaron Jones, right? And now, once they got Josh Jacobs, their offensive philosophy completely changed. Yeah. They wanted to run it. Josh Jacobs touched the football 70 to 75% of the time, and we'll throw it when we have to, as opposed to throwing first, where if you break down the stats during 2 years ago, Jordan Love was one of the highest passing totals over the last 7 or 8 games of the regular season. He was averaging 270 passing yards per game. Yeah. 21 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions when they rolled into Dallas as a 6.5-point dog. That wasn't what I saw last year. I saw Jordan Love short dink and dunk passes underneath coverage. They don't have a deep shot. They're hoping Matt Golden is that guy. We'll see. I need to see it before I believe it. I will say Jared Goff has one of the best completion percentages in all of the NFL. When he's on, he's on.
For me, I think the two of them are neither. I didn't put either guy in a top 10 quarterback list personally.
In this matchup, you have to say it's Jared Goff right now until we don't know what we're getting from Jordan Love.
Yeah, but I'll be honest with you, Joe, I don't see part of the reasons I'm lower on Detroit. I don't know what I'm getting from Jared Goff. Jared Goff has had multiple, in his career, terrible seasons. And those are the seasons that he spent one season without McVay in L.A. and one season without Ben Johnson in Detroit. And both times it looked like he'd be out of the league sooner than later. Now, here he is, of a 4,500-yard season, 30 passes. I get it. I do. But there's a reason why last year, despite checking a lot of statistical boxes, going 15-2, okay, best record in football, Goff wasn't really in the MVP conversation. Because go through the history of that award. Number 1 seed quarterback. That's why Rodgers kept ripping him off. I'm telling you, it's how Lamar won it 2 years ago. Up and down, I screamed about how ridiculous it was. It's why Brock Purdy was going to win it, because they were the number 1 seed at the time. So it's one of those things where I feel like if I get everyone in a room, hey, honesty. Yeah, Goff's not the guy. But for some reason now I got quarterback rankings telling me he's better than Jalen Hurts.
So
I'm not following.
If we break this game down and I'm betting it, I'm betting the over on Jordan Love, 234.5. Not because I believe he's the better quarterback, but because I need to see this out of this offense today. I'm taking Jamison Williams and Laporte over their total.
But you and I talked a lot about how that last year's Green Bay team relied on the run too much, and I thought it was a problem. But I'm not sure they agree. I'll be betting some Josh Jacobs here in this football game. The thing is, again, from a quality of teams, Packers, Lions, awesome. Ravens, Bills, awesome. Jets, Steelers,
awesome.
But from a narrative, from a crowd reaction, I like it. I like it a lot. Rodgers is back. in MetLife. We'll break it down next.
Want to play roulette? Here's a tip. European roulette has a lower house edge than American style. The lower the house edge, the better shot you have at winning. Most online casinos offer European roulette. So, if I were you, I'd get spinning. Now, go get lucky. See you in Lost Pages. Let's get lucky.
Like it or not, 18-year-olds dropped with a whole lot of money in there. Boy, I tell you, it changes people, Donnie, and it's a new reality that we better get used to in college football because look at the kid from UCLA, former Tennessee quarterback, making millions of dollars. You really think he cares? They got absolutely embarrassed and trounced.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The Dallas Cowboys losing that pass rush, losing another big impact player on the defensive side, all this does is make me like Dak Prescott more and CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens more because what we talked about all offseason, right, Matt, which is, hey, when Dak is healthy, he is a top 5 fantasy quarterback, and the defense we think is okay, but we think they're going to be in a lot of shootouts. Now I definitely think there's going to be a lot more shootouts.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
So game one, I already made a mistake. I put my touchdown prop bets in hours ago. When you and I started talking before kickoff, I got so excited and I bet him again without even thinking that I already did it.
I
was like, Jalen Hurts. I was like, and then I was like, wait, I think I already did this. And I scrolled down. I was like, yeah, you already did do this. And I was like, that's okay. That's okay.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Pro Football Today here on SportsGrid. My, oh my, what a perfect game to break down with none other than Joe Lisi. If this is his Super Bowl, the Jets and the Steelers. Can I just say this? Every single time I think about this game, the last thing I remember in terms of like, oh, that's cool, is, oh, Justin Fields is playing Pittsburgh. I imagine for you, it's the first thing that you remember, that Justin Fields has the chance at revenge, that he can prove that Pittsburgh made a mistake. And we will talk about that, Joe. But Aaron Rodgers left Green Bay after a decade and a half of incredible play and sold the Jets that he was going to come in, snap the playoff drought, and be the guy. And unfortunately, in a freak injury, the first season of it was completely washed away. But last year, we thought this would be the year. He's healthy, it'll be fine. And 4 weeks into the season, he got the coach fired. The defense fell apart. He was never right, no matter how many touchdowns he found a way to throw throughout that season. And incredibly, the same exact case is being made in Pittsburgh. Defense is great. Better quarterback play. Come on, it's got to be the Steelers' year. What are you expecting from Pittsburgh, not just in this game, Joe, but this season with their new quarterback, Aaron Rodgers?
I think they have the potential to be a 6-win football team. That's it. I think he'll bring down any organization, especially at this point. He's the human anchor as far as I'm concerned. Again, he's not a locker room guy. We talk about a team that had continuity from a chemistry perspective, and granted, they didn't have elite quarterback play, but they were more, I believe, of a team last year with Justin Fields and Russell Wilson than they were this year with Aaron Rodgers. And maybe he'll prove me wrong, but again, from the gambling perspective, I believe Pittsburgh is going to be a 6-win football team. I think they potentially could be the seller of the AFC North, and that includes Cleveland, old man Joe Flacco. I just don't believe Aaron Rodgers is a savior. I don't. And look at the wide receiver core. I mean, you have DK there, Roman Wilson, Calvin Austin. Okay, I like their tight ends. Yeah. Do they utilize them enough in key critical situations? No. Darnell Washington is 6'7". He should have 15 touchdowns inside the red zone. We don't utilize this guy. I mean, really, what are we doing? The offensive philosophy is a complete joke with Arthur Smith. And we talked about it with Russell Wilson last year, down the last 6 games of the regular season, including that loss in the playoff. 176 passing yards per game. Is that going to change with Big Bad Aaron? Come on.
I'm not banking on it change. How tall is Darnell Washington again?
6'7".
6'7".
He's 6. He's 6.
That guy's big. No,
6'7", 280.
Listen, look. Here's my thing. Last year, now I actually didn't play futures on or anything, but from a power ranking perspective, entering the season, I thought the Jets would be good. I thought the math on it made sense. I thought the roster was talented, the defense would be good, Rodgers would be better. It wasn't the case. And the Pittsburgh stuff is all so similar. I can't get there. I'm not in. I don't think Tomlin is immune to having a season under 500. If anything, I might argue he is due to have a season under 500, right? I also think some of the defensive pieces on Pittsburgh, while that defense projects incredible, they're all on the older side. Cam Hayward just gets paid, right? Even TJ Watt, right? He's not Micah Parsons
They
age.
have 7 guys over 30.
Yeah.
So, I mean...
And the offense, like DK Metcalf was a great addition. He ended up just being a replacement for George Pickens instead of playing next to George Pickens. The running back room still comes with plenty of questions. I think Caleb Johnson can be good. He's not likely to be the starting running back. That's going to be probably Jalen Warren. So there's a lot of uncertainty, I still believe, in Pittsburgh. On the Jets side of it, you have a new head coach, a new quarterback, and then a lot of key guys from the Rodgers era. And that's, I think, the way to define it. Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, Sauce Gardner, Quinnen Williams, guys that projected to be, and guys that have been, Joe, like all Pro Bowl level guys. What do you expect from Justin Fields and their new head coach, Aaron Glenn, taking over for the Jets?
I expect them to be a 9-win football team at the pinnacle.
Playoffs, maybe?
A dark horse.
Okay.
I don't know if they get there. I think it's worthy of a bet because I think they're why I'm buying in. I think they're a young football team. They are a young football team, and I buy into Aaron Glenn. Might not be a great head coach, but I buy into more of Aaron Glenn motivating these young guys, getting them to play as a unit offensively and defensively than I did of their former head coach Ulbrich at the end of the year, and obviously Salah in the first portion, first half. Again, that's what I'm buying into. I buy into Justin Fields as a starter last year, 4-2 before he got, benched for Russell Wilson. I buy into Braylon Allen and Breece Hall. I buy into Garrett Wilson. I buy into the young defense. I think this team potentially could overexceed expectations. Again, I think they're going to be the second-best team in the AFC East. I think it is Buffalo, but it is the New York Jets. I'm sold on New England. I'm certainly sold on Mike McDaniel and the Miami Dolphins. I think they win the game outright today, the Jets. How about that?
I will tell you this.
Justin Fields for an anytime touchdown today, too.
You know what? Actually, our crunch is right around the corner. I got a prop in this game that I really, really do like, so we'll save that for there. When you talk about the AFC East, though, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I know that New England, some people have said, it's too much, it's too much. I don't think it is too much.
Why?
I know they're like the hype around New England.
Yeah.
I think Mike Vrabel is a good coach. We've disagreed on this before.
Yes.
Okay? I think that Drake May is a good quarterback. We've disagreed on this before. But maybe something I could get you to agree with.
Yeah.
I think the defense is good in New England. I know Christian Gonzalez is out today.
Right.
But I think that defense actually has a lot of talent. I think the defensive line's going to have a big season with the addition of Milton Williams and others.
Yeah, I don't think that's not out of the realm of possibility. I think they could be a top 10 unit. If they hit on all cylinders. I think they're very good against the run and very physical. And I'm not taking away from Mike Vrabel being a good head coach. I think the problem and the perception with Mike Vrabel is that we elevate Mike Vrabel like he's Pete Carroll, like he won a Super Bowl. He hasn't. And he didn't utilize Derrick Henry when he had him there his last season in Tennessee. So expecting this offensive, just explosion with, Mike Vrabel and Drake May. We got Stephon Diggs. Hey, give me a break. Raiders today.
Whoa!
How about that? That said it. Smash job.
Big Pete Carroll in the place to be, huh?
Yeah.
All right, Geno Smith. You're a Geno Smith
guy. I believe more in Pete Carroll at 70+ than I do Mike Vrabel. How about that?
Little
Patriot way.
Little love for the older guy. Let's crunch it up. We're with you here on a Sunday on SportsGrid.
Want to play roulette? Here's a tip. European roulette has a lower house edge than American style. The lower the house edge, the better shot you have at winning. Most online casinos offer European roulette. So, if I were you, I'd get spinning. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Like it or not, 18-year-olds dropped with a whole heck of a lot of money in there. Boy,
Yeah.
I tell you, it changes people, Donnie, and it's a new reality that we better get used to in college football because look at the kid from UCLA, former Tennessee quarterback, making millions of dollars. You really think he cares? They got absolutely embarrassed and trounced.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The Dallas Cowboys losing that pass rush, losing another big impact player on the defensive side, all this does is make me like Dak Prescott more and CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens more because what we talked about all offseason, right, Matt? Which is, hey, when Dak is healthy, he is a top 5 fantasy quarterback, and the defense we think is okay, but we think they're going to be in a lot of shootouts. Now I definitely think there's going to be a lot more shootouts.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
So game one, I already made a mistake. I put my touchdown prop bets in hours ago. When you and I started talking before kickoff, I got so excited and I bet him again without even thinking that I already did it.
Oh,
I was like, oh, yeah, Jalen Hurts. Oh, yeah. And I was like, and then I was like, wait, I think I already did this. And I scrolled down. I was like, yeah, you already did do this. And I was like, oh, that's okay. That's okay.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Pro Football Today is here on SportsGrid, and the Sunday morning crunch, getting it right in before it's really no longer morning, at least here on the East Coast. You West Coast folks, shout out to you for waking up with us, getting set for a delightful Sunday of NFL action. Our 3 favorite player props here on this Sunday slate. It's time for the Sunday morning crunch. How about that? We got the music going early here. Let's start with one of your favorite plays on the ground. A running back who has some big expectations, I think, if this team is going to deliver on how excited you seem to be about that. Come on.
Well, I like them today. I like Indy over the Miami Dolphins. It's one of my better plays today. I'm laying the 1.5. But I believe Jonathan Taylor could be a factor. I believe Daniel Jones could actually get through his total today. We'll get into that a little bit later. But you talk about the dominance of Jonathan Taylor, 1,431 rushing yards, average 4.7 yards per carry. Over the last 4 games of the regular season, Kev, he averaged 156.7 rushing yards per game. Miami allowed a $103 on the ground last year. I'm not sold on the physicality. I think if Indy wins this game at home, they got to run it. His number opened up at 80.5 across multiple books. He's down to 79.5. Give me up, and away on Jonathan Taylor.
I think for Indianapolis as a whole, you have to imagine that they will look to use Taylor a lot. But I think as far as those pass catchers go, this is a real question mark because the reason they are playing Daniel Jones is you would imagine they think they're going to have a much elevated pass attack this season. I'm not saying that's anything against the Taylor thing. I'm just talking about now Colts props in general. Warren, Downs, A.D. Mitchell. Really tricky room to figure out. I'm interested to see how that goes. My favorite running back prop today, I think it ultimately is Breece Hall, over 65.5 rushing plus receiving. This is where, Joe, I'm pretty much betting on Justin Fields, I actually think, with this bet. Justin Fields, as a running quarterback, will make life easier on Breece Hall. Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, each arguably coming off of the best season of their career last year, playing next to mobile guys like Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson. So a big play guy like Breece Hall on the ground could be great. I also think Justin Fields will be checked down reliant throughout plenty of this football game. So give me Breece Hall to do a little bit of it all. What's the running back you're targeting in the receiving game?
It's Bijan Robinson, believe it or not. Again, when we look at this matchup against Tampa Bay, I think both offenses potentially can eat. We talk about Bijan Robinson being utilized last year, 61 receptions. He can catch it. 24.5 to me is a very light number, especially with Michael Penix starting this year, for a complete season. I think he can get in the area of 40 or 50, but again, that's 1 or 2 catches for Bijan Robinson. He potentially could hit pay dirt today multiple times. I think this game flies through the total as well. 24.5, I think, is light, Kev.
Bijan Robinson, someone I considered for Offensive Player of the Year. I went with the chalk on Jamar Chase ultimately.
All right.
I think you could make a case for Josh Jacobs, though. Look, if Micah Parsons makes this much of a difference, Green Bay will win games, and they will run it. And Josh Jacobs last year still ran it a ton. I'll take over 17.5 rush attempts, where I think they will be the winning side in this football game. Jacobs last year in 11 wins went over this number in 8 of those football games. I think it's also the way to attack this Detroit defense. I think the pass defense for the Lions, again, will be much better this season. I expect plenty of Josh Jacobs. What else you got for us, Joe?
Here's an under-the-radar one. It's Parker Washington with Jacksonville. His number today is 11.5, Kev. 11. Okay. Over the last 6 games of the regular season, he had 276 receiving yards, 22 receptions, 3 touchdowns. I understand a majority of that was with Mac Jones when Trevor Lawrence was out. But you're talking about a player that can do all the underneath routes. His number's 11.5 today. I altered it to 15+. He's averaged over the last 6 games of the regular season 3.6 yards, receptions, 3, almost 4. 45.5 yards. I mean, we're discounting him that much because of Travis Hunter. That's way too much, in my opinion. He's a veteran wide receiver. Look for him to eat today.
I'll tell you, and I have no problem with the Parker play, but I just think Jacksonville's pass attack is going to be much better. I am also all over Travis Hunter props today. Like, it's not a part of the crunch. I played him over 4.5 receptions. I played him over 45.5 receiving yards. The report comes out from Schefter like, yeah, he's going to be a full-time receiver. And I think once they traded up for Travis Hunter, they knew that they were going to need Joe to play Travis a lot on offense to justify the move that they made.
Yeah, no, absolutely. He's going to eat today. He's got to take those double teams away from Brian Thomas. That's his job.
It is going to be so fun to watch that duo work because, look, you're as high as they come on Brian Thomas, and you were right about it the whole way. I am so high on Travis Hunter. Trevor Lawrence has everything he could need. Last crunch for me, and we've talked about it already, Mark Andrews over the 44.5 receiving yards. The narrative spot's the easy sell, but the correct sell is Isaiah Likely is out for this football game, which means Mark Andrews will eat. A QB spotlight is next.
Guess what, golfers? Vegas isn't just casinos and pool parties. In fact, there are 50 golf courses within a 15-mile radius of the Strip, all boasting beautiful desert oasis landscapes. So, if you're looking for a break from the action, consider hitting the links. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Donnie, the season is 6 months. 5 if you check out in September. You're gonna have a bad month. The Yankees had a horrible month, that is true. But beyond that, their regular season looks okay. They're gonna win their 90 games or maybe a little bit more and get to the postseason. What is everybody freaking out about?
Everybody freaks out. It's a Yankee tax and a Yankee fan tax as well, where every single season you enter into the equation going like, it's championship or bust.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Remember these names: AZ Fudd, Olivia Miles, Lauren Betts. Depending on who wins that lottery, that's going to depend on who goes what. If Washington wins, it's Fudd. She's from the area. If Dallas wins, they're going to bring Fudd to play with, obviously, Paige. If Minnesota wins, I think they go Miles with the point. If Seattle wins, they go with Miles, and the same thing with Chicago.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
I don't like it. Does he think he's playing on the opening kickoff? Does he want to get a handoff at that point?
I mean, he's involved in the program. Here's the problem with James Franklin.
Why do coaches even run out with the football team? Like, Andy Reid doesn't run out with the Chiefs.
No, but it's the NFL. This is college
what about
kids.
high school,
They're
college
piped in.
basketball? Do those
They're
guys
like a
run out
father figure. Well, they used to be like a father figuring. Now the kids are making more than the coach.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.